Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Double FM Sports. I am Todd File.
I'm Ethan Fager.
I'm Charlie Fager.
And that's right, we have a special guest host today. We have Charlie, Ethan's younger brother. JR cannot be...
No, he's replacing JR. That's what
No, he's not replacing JR. He'll be back hopefully next week. His voice is still healing up. And he had track practice today, so he could not film with us. So anyway... Moving on, we're going to the NFL. It's the off season, but big things are happening. One of which being the collective bargaining agreement, and all of the bureaucracy associated with that. So, boys, what is your opinion on this collective bargaining agreement?
Well, I mean, for those of you that don't know, the CBA, as otherwise known, is basically what it's doing is it's adding a 17th game, but while also getting rid of a preseason game. And
Right.
Also, it's going to increase the number of playoff teams from 6 to 7.
On each side of the conferences.
Which will cause only one team to have a bye.
Right. So if you look at this year's playoffs, you would have only seen the 49ers on the NFC having a first-round bye and the Ravens on the AFC side, as opposed to having the Niners and the Packers, as well as the Ravens and the...
Patriots.
Was it? No.
Yes, it was.
The Pats were the three.
Wait, no, it was Chiefs.
And the Chiefs. There we go. Thank you. Anyway, that's kind of the short end of the CBA. It seems that players have been largely divided over it. So we'll see what happens with that in the coming weeks. Somewhat breaking news here. We've learned today that A.J. Boye has been traded from the Jaguars to the Denver Broncos for a 2020 fourth-round pick. How do you guys see that affecting the landscape, not only of the AFC West, but of the AFC and the NFL as a whole?
Well, first of all, I don't think A.J. Bouye's... I think the Jaguars traded him for too little. I don't think he's worth a fourth-round pick, and I mean that I think he's way better than a fourth-round pick.
Okay.
So I think the Denver Broncos actually got the better end of this deal, and they got a Pro Bowler in A.J. Bouye, who was a former teammate of Jalen Ramsey, if you didn't know. But I think, I don't know, the Broncos' defense is looking a little better now, and it's looking a little scarier with Von Miller, A.J. Bouye.
Right. And, of course, I mean, last year they lost Bradley Roby to free agency, but I forget his name, and that bothers me. Older player, had a really nice...
Chris Harris?
Thank you. Chris Harris had a great comeback season this year.
Von Miller's still there. So
Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, when he's healthy, is...
Derek Wolfe?
I don't know who that is.
Okay.
So, no. But point being, that defense can be much better than it was this year, and it can also be almost as good, if not better, than I'd say that Broncos defense that won them a Super Bowl against Carolina in 2015.
And, yeah, they literally carried Peyton Manning to the Super Bowl.
Which is a separate topic. But speaking of shifts in the teams, the Giants have cut Alec Ogletree, who's been kind of a staple of that linebacking core within the past couple of years after he got traded from the Rams. Do you see that as really having an impact?
Well, I mean, it's the Giants, so we
We don't
Yes.
expect much from them anymore.
Well, and they didn't even try to trade him at all. They just kind of cut him.
Yeah,
So, I mean, he hasn't been as productive as he was in L.A.
I think he's still a decent linebacker. I don't really...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming now that the Giants are going to try to draft a linebacker.
Right, well,
Based
because
on-
they need one.
based on-
After trading away Olivier Vernon and then cutting Alec Ogletree, you need someone to fill that gap.
Yeah.
And also, there have been questions surrounding possibly Dez Bryant going back to Dallas after, it's been a 2-year hiatus? Maybe 3 since he's even played football.
Yeah, he's kind of had some issues with
Well, he tore his ACL, right?
Yeah, and then I think he had some issues with I don't know if
He couldn't get a contract this year.
It was with Jerry Jones or Jason. I don't know which one it was.
Well, because he got traded to
New Orleans.
the Saints, yeah.
But then he injured himself before he could even
Right,
play,
during
so.
training camp.
Well, if he does return to the he's returning to the Cowboys, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But if he does return to the Cowboys, as long as he's not injured like he gets every season, I think he'll actually be pretty good. Because even though he's been out for 2 to 3 years, I mean, he probably won't lose all of his skill overall.
Well, I think that receiving corps, if they can somehow keep Randall Cobb and Amari Cooper
Right.
both, which is a big if.
Yes.
That
Agreed.
receiving corps of Des Bryant, Amari Cooper, Randall Cobb, that's pretty. But
Well-
then again, like you said, Des Bryant does get hurt every
Right,
year.
and it also
Every season.
yeah, it depends on what kind of condition he's in. If he's
Yeah.
playing like a 35-year-old man who hasn't played football for 3 years, he's not going to be that much of a difference
And he's
maker.
probably not going to stay on the Cowboys for a long
Right.
time.
But if he plays like 2014 Des Bryant,
That's-
okay, you're talking one of the top receivers in the game, matched with Amari Cooper and a revitalized Randall Cobb. I think that's kind of a scary receiving
And then
core
you
there.
put Jason Witten, who's
Jason Witten brings a lot of experience to the table, but he's,
not good.
well, I feel like his prime is way past.
Well,
Yeah.
yes,
Oh
obviously.
my gosh.
Blake Jarwin has a lot of talent, and unfortunately has had to sit behind Jason Witten this past season.
Yeah,
but
I want to see what Blake Jarwin can
yeah,
do.
he's had flashes. He could be a really good receiving tight end. And I mean, Dak Prescott.
Well, once again, if they can.
If they can keep Dak Prescott and he doesn't have to walk, you're talking a highly talented QB throwing to highly talented wide receivers.
And we haven't even talked about Ezekiel Elliott.
Right.
Exactly.
Who could essentially play wide receiver and running back. So the Cowboys should probably be better than they were this year.
Maybe need a little more upgrades on defense. But.
Maybe, yes. And of course, we've talked about the NFL of today, but there's also the NFL tomorrow, currently competing at the draft in Indianapolis, I believe. So we're not going to talk a whole lot about the draft because there's so much to cover, but there are a few notables. For example, Donovan Peoples-Jones, formerly of the Michigan Wolverines, put up a 44.5-inch vertical. For those of you who don't like converting from inches to feet, I will give it to you. That is almost 4 feet. That's like 2 Yodas. Like, that is an insane
Yoda's like 2
amount.
feet tall.
Yeah, Yoda's 2 feet
Oh.
tall. Anyway, that is
That's
an
basi-
insane vertical.
Is that basically how high Zion can go, or can Zion go higher?
I don't know what
I
Zion's
don't know.
vert
He,
is, but
his is like 40 or something like that.
Yeah.
His is really
Actually-
high.
We should say Cassius Stanley's. Cassius Stanley broke Zion's vert record. If you
Really?
didn't know. Yeah. Yeah.
do you know what he posted?
I don't know what he posted. I know he broke it, though.
Okay.
Okay.
Even
Well,
so, 44.5, that's an NFL Combine record. And, of course, on the speed side of things, Henry Ruggs III got pretty darn close. Okay, you have no part of this, Alabama fan. This is not you. This is all Ruggs. He posted a 4.27 40-yard dash, which is one of the fastest we've seen in a long time. Second only to the 4.22 posted by John Ross in, what was that, 2015, 2016?
He was something around there.
Something around that time. So a lot of speed in a guy like Ruggs.
Well, and I think he's fast. That's faster than Tyreek Hill's 40 time.
And that's saying something.
Because Tyreek Hill's like.
Tyreek Hill is like regarded as the fastest dude in the game. So if someone can get their hands on Ruggs, they basically have a heat-seeking missile pointed directly at the touchdown end zone. So, and of course, how can we talk about the combine without mentioning Michael Turk, the Arizona State punter who cranked out 25 reps of 225 bench presses.
Hey, punters are people too, guys.
I know. I'm saying he beat, if I'm not mistaken, all the wide receivers and like all but one tight end.
Which tight end would that be?
I forget.
I don't know.
But let me just. You remember back when there was Joey Julius at Penn State?
Yeah.
the massive punter who looked like he should have played
And
D-line.
And kicker.
Yeah. That's what this reminds me of.
Yeah. Wait, is this Michael Turk, like, is he, like...
No, he's built like Aldrich Rosas.
Okay.
Who, for those of you who don't know, Aldrich Rosas is the special teams kicker for the New York Giants, who is built like a truck, is like 6'3", 220, something like... It's insane.
Yeah.
The man could play like linebacker, but he's a kicker. Moving on to the MLB, not a whole lot happening. Spring training has started up. We're going to talk about the Astros because, we're all laughing because, for those of you who don't know, there was the whole sign stealing. There was the whole sign stealing scandal, and the Astros have been hit 7 times by pitches this spring training, and that's just within the first couple of weeks.
Well, I wouldn't say that they deserve that, but then again...
It's a little undue, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And, of course, Trevor Bauer is now directly telling people what pitch he's going to throw at them.
He's just a legend. I mean,
you can't steal signs from the guy who's literally telling you what pitch he's going to throw.
Yeah. And he's like striking people out.
Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, he's literally telling you what he's going to do. He does it, and somehow you're still surprised. Like, the amount of skill that he has is insane. So kudos to him. Before we move on to the NBA, I do want to just touch upon the XFL because I feel like we forgot about it. And also, it doesn't get the attention it receives, or it doesn't always get the attention it deserves. But we're not going to give it that attention. We're just going to say the XFL happened, and we're moving on to the NBA. Okay,
yeah.
Bradley Beal has been strengthening his case to get out of Washington. When we last came on, we said that he had a 50-point game.
And they lost.
Well, the funny thing was, that was on last Monday. Last Tuesday, he did it again, scored more points. It was like 57 or so.
I think he had 50
mistaken.
through the first game and like 55.
Yeah, something around that. And they still lost. So if there's not a reason for Bradley Beal to get dealt out of Washington, I'm not seeing that there's a better one here. Like,
there's no point in him saying that.
Yeah, he's not a free agent until 2023. That's an error that I forgot to mention last time.
Sorry, JR.
Yeah, JR was pointing that out to us. But he's not a free agent until 2023. So I could see him lobbying the front office of the Wizards trying to get out of DC.
Or he might do what Kawhi Leonard did and just not. Did Kawhi Leonard like fake injury or whatever?
No, I don't think so. I'm not really sure what happened there. But anyway, Steph Curry is coming back soon. He was reported to be scrimmaging with a Warriors affiliate in the G League.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, missed the buzzer beater winner in order to win that scrimmage. But he should be coming back. What form he's in after that broken hand, who knows? But
the Warriors will take him regardless if he's good.
Right.
Or not.
I would take a 50% Steph Curry over no Steph Curry.
Because as we all know, the Warriors, they need a lot of help right now.
They went from the very top of the West to the very bottom.
Yes.
Even
worse, I think they have a worse record than like the Knicks or something.
Yeah, they're bad because they don't have Clay, they don't have Steph Curry.
No KD.
No KD, obviously.
Net, so.
Yeah. They pretty much just have Draymond.
And Andrew Wiggins.
So they have Draymond. Anyway.
Well,
I just dropped him for my fantasy team, by the way.
Who, Draymond or
No, Andrew Wiggins?
Okay, so
I picked up
Draymond.
Evan Fournier.
Even having
gosh.
Draymond, even just having Draymond is insane.
Draymond's good, but he's no Michael Jordan.
Exactly.
You can't just build a team around him.
Draymond's no like Rudy Gobert.
Okay.
No. Every time.
If JR was here, he would be coming across the table at you right now. It's not about the Utah Jazz, okay? We get it. Rudy Gobert is good. We do not need to talk about him just because we're talking about basketball. Moving on.
Yeah, moving on to the Donovan Mitchell's been.
Oh. Thank you, Charlie. For those of you who can't see, which would be all of you, Charlie just pushed over Ethan for JR. So, moving on. 76ers right now are without both Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and yet they still seem to be doing okay.
And we obviously, you can talk about it, but obviously Shake Milton is a big factor in that.
Shake Milton has really just shot himself into the void. We're talking about a guy who everyone was like, who in the world is this dude?
Yeah, exactly.
And, I remember watching the Clippers 76ers game on Sunday, and they were saying that, the Clippers coaching staff was like, who's this dude, Shake Milton?
That's like me 5 minutes before we came here.
Yeah, really, yes. But literally, we're talking about a guy whose career high was, I believe, 27 points, something around there. Hadn't played a whole lot of basketball, but in Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid's absence has really kind of risen to the top. He put up, you said, 39 points against the Clippers.
3-point line.
Yeah, and he set the NBA record for most consecutive, not free throws, 3-pointers scored at, I believe, 14. The previous record was, of course, 13. If I'm not mistaken. And so we're talking about a relatively unknown guy setting NBA records and just lighting everybody up.
Yeah.
So kudos to him. I think if people like Shake Milton, potentially Furkan Korkmaz, and some of those other, not necessarily six-man guys, but those bench players can step up on the Sixers, they'll have a chance.
They can hold the fort.
Right, and especially in playoffs, when you can't just be using Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid every night for the entire game.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to be really useful and could potentially carry the Sixers through the playoffs.
Yeah.
And speaking of playoffs...
Playoffs?
What?
No, it's
oh,
a funny
okay.
thing. Right.
Anyway, speaking of playoffs... Wow, you did it the first time, but you didn't do it the second time. Anyway, speaking of playoffs, what are y'all's take on how the NBA playoffs are?
Okay, first I just
shaping
want
up?
to point out you said y'all's. I just want to point that out there.
I know.
We're not from the South.
Yeah.
So?
Okay, my take from the playoffs, obviously.
Don't you dare say it.
Already.
No. Yeah, I'm excited for this year's playoffs. I think the Bucks are going to be a serious contender.
Obviously.
I hope they are.
course.
I also think like the Lakers.
Lakers, yeah.
Trying to think what can I say about this without going into.
You can say the Jazz.
Oh, all right, perfect. Yes, this is my time.
They'll probably go out in the first round, but yes.
Okay.
Who are they facing in the first round?
Well, right now they're the 5 seed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So they'd be playing. Who's the 4? Maybe the Clippers. Clippers are the 3, I think.
Nuggets?
Nuggets are the 2, I think.
Okay.
It's not
I don't know who else
It's
that
not
would
the
be.
Wizards.
Wrong conference, Charlie.
Keep talking. I'll look it up for you guys.
Yeah, so I feel like it's going to be a lot more competitive than we've seen in recent years.
Yeah.
Especially from the Eastern side, which, I've said this before, but I feel like the East has, for the past couple of years, it's really, I'd say, since LeBron left the Heat, it's kind of been like the smaller younger brother, no offense to the younger brother in the room, but of the big boy, big leagues West. Last year, what was it? It was like the 8 seed in the West had a better record than like the 6 seed in the East or something to that effect. And so I don't think we're seeing that at all this year. So playoffs, I think, will be exciting. I think they'll be good. There will be some really nice matchups, I feel. Potentially some
Rockets
upsets.
are the 4 seed.
Rockets are the 4. Okay. So, actually, Rockets-Jazz would be...
That's a good matchup.
That would be a pretty good matchup. Because can the small ball Rockets beat the more defensively minded, especially with Rudy Gobert, Jazz?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I feel like Bojan Bogdanovic is also kind of a big factor in that because he's had kind of an up and down season.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had some really nice parts of the season, some really good months where he's just electric.
Yeah.
But then some other parts where he's kind of hit a rock, you know?
I also, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to keep talking about
Yeah.
that.
Anyway, moving on. That's pretty much the state of the NBA. Moving on to NCAA men's basketball. Former Wisconsin player Kobe King has chosen Nebraska as his new school, so he will be going there. Indiana staying in the Big Ten. The 5-star point guard for class of 2021, high school class that is. Indiana just landed the 5-star recruit, Christian Lander, who's 6'2" and plays point guard. That's a big point guard.
Yeah.
That's like a Ben Simmons point guard.
No,
Yeah.
Like
no, Ben Simmons like 6'9". Or wait, what?
Ben Simmons is 6'9", 6'8".
I'm saying. He's,
In college basketball.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Oh, in college basketball.
Like, we're talking about a pretty decently sized 6'2" point guard. And, I mean, he's a 5-star, too. So, that'll be interesting to see how Indiana does next year. Moving on, AP rankings came out yesterday, which, yeah, the Duke fan just let out a, I don't even know what that was. That sounded like a dying goat. Anyway, Duke has fallen from 6 to 7. That was last week's AP rankings. And now from 7 to 12 after losing to Wake Forest and UVA. And that was compounded with already losing by 22 points to NC State.
Well, what happened last night?
You beat NC State, yes.
There you go.
But you did lose to, like, the 11-win Wake Forest.
Okay. All right.
So,
all right.
I mean, I probably don't have much.
and had a
to
close
talk about.
game with UVA, which that's yeah, you know, like UVA is this year. They'll probably make the bracket. I mean, they're
22 right now.
yeah, they're 22 now because of that win.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. Baylor, of course, lost to who was it? Was it Texas Tech? No, they
No.
just had the scare against Texas Tech last night. Who, of course, Texas Tech got blown out by Texas the
They
other
lost
day.
to TCU.
TCU, and they blew them out, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
it was a close.
It was
like
72-75.
72-75 was Baylor against TCU. So Baylor is now the 4 instead of the 2. The 1 is Kansas. The 2 is Gonzaga.
Yep.
The 3 is Dayton. Baylor's, of course, the 4. Penn State has continued to slide after they lost to Indiana last week. They picked up a win
Over
by
Rutgers.
I believe it was 62-61 against Rutgers. But then yesterday was it yesterday or was
Saturday.
Saturday got blown out by Iowa.
Yep.
77 to
68.
68. Okay, so not entirely blown
Yeah.
out, but still 9 points. PSU continuing to slide. We'll see where that goes. Michigan. This angers me so much that Michigan is still even in the top 25.
Yeah.
They're ranked 25 right now. After losing to Wisconsin, which made me happy, and as a Wisconsin fan. But I feel like Michigan doesn't deserve to be in the top 25 like that, especially when there are potentially better teams that could be in.
Yeah.
Like, do you have the votes for
The votes?
the AP votes for teams that didn't make it?
Oh, let me see.
Just because I want to see. I mean, we look at those, we can further tell which ones are more justified in being in the bracket.
I don't know.
Just go in the app. It's oh my gosh. If we weren't using my phone to record, I would have looked it up. But anyway, I part of it is me just not liking Michigan. But,
Others received. So Butler got 68 votes.
okay.
UCLA got 54. Stephen F. Austin got 47.
Oh yeah, that's right.
East Tennessee State got 31.
Okay, so maybe Michigan did deserve it because these guys don't sound that great. The only one I could see making a serious case for is Butler, but at the same time, I mean, Butler got blown out by Creighton last week. Also, big jumpers. Seton Hall has moved up, I believe, 8 spots. Something like that. It might not have been 8, but it was a pretty large jump that they made up to the 8 seed, if I'm not mistaken.
It was 5. They were
5?
13.
Okay, yeah, they were 13th. Even so, Seton Hall making one of the bigger jumps from last week to this week. So that's men's basketball. Moving on to women's, not a whole lot that needs to be said really, other than UConn is leaving the American Athletic Conference
To join the Big East.
Right, to join the Big East. And I mean, we're talking about UConn, one of the winningest programs in recent history in women's college basketball. So, I don't know. Probably, I mean, it spells bad news for the Big East because here comes UConn. But how do you see the AAC is changing?
Well, obviously, their biggest ticket maker, UConn, will not be there anymore. So I think the level of...
I think the competitiveness...
of the competitiveness may go up.
Right.
Because since UConn's not there, there's room for a new top dog now.
Right. And I mean, part of that is also... Well, I don't see it so much as it being more... I mean, it definitely could be more competitive, but it might just be closer. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they might not necessarily be more competitive, but they most certainly can be closer. Yeah, and that's pretty much all there really is to say about basketball this week. NHL, JR's not back, and we don't know what we're talking about, so we're moving on. Moving on to NASCAR, we had the Auto Club 400 at Fontana on Sunday. Alex Bowman won by holding off both Kurt and Kyle Busch to get his second career victory. And it seems that he is actually going to get a tattoo to commemorate that second career victory at Fontana. I also just want to say, last week you heard me talk about Matt DiBenedetto getting second place in Las Vegas. He continued a strong performance at Fontana to get 13th. But I remember him starting relatively well in the field, and he was at one point up to 4th early on in the race. So kudos to him. He's running for the Wood brothers, who, for those of you who don't know, used to run Cale Yarborough's car, who is one of the legends of NASCAR. So kudos to the Wood brothers. Kudos to Matt DiBenedetto. Moving on to top
You're in love
soccer.
with Matt DiBenedetto, aren't you?
I just like seeing the underdog succeed. You know, I mean, this is his first year in the 21. I mean, that's one of the most famous numbers in NASCAR.
Based on the teams that I like seeing the top dog stay.
Oh my gosh. This is why JR and I yell at you. Anyway, top soccer. MLS is starting up, but it's American soccer, so no one really cares because the European stuff is where
Salt
it's at.
Lake FC.
I'm a Red Bulls guy. I'm going to strike that down. You love too much about Utah. Anyway.
So speaking of the Jazz.
No. We were done with that. We're going to stay done with that. Mohamed Salah could potentially be moving to Real Madrid. So what implications do you see with him leaving Liverpool there?
Well, I mean, we're obviously going to talk about Liverpool's streak. But, no, I think Salah's been a real key piece for them, so I think
Yeah.
losing him is going to be very tough for them.
Well, and the thing is, he's a midfielder who plays like a striker.
Yeah.
So
That's very hard to find.
I mean, and he's literally like the heart of the Egyptian national. Like he is the Egyptian national.
Oh,
team.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's like Gareth Bale's like the Wales national
Yeah,
team.
Gareth Bale's Wales.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens if he does end up going to Real or at least leaving Liverpool. Also, injury updates. Eden Hazard broke his leg and is out for the season. As well as another leg injury, I believe, to
Lewandowski.
yeah,
Robert
to Lewandowski. So Bayern has been slammed with that. With Lewandowski's injury. Ethan, you mentioned Liverpool's streak.
Yes!
It-
Yes!
Yes, I
Okay,
want to talk
okay.
about
Yes,
this
it ended! It's over!
It has
They're not
ended
going to be invincible.
because they lost to
To
Watford.
3-0, by the way.
3-0.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, Ethan is an Everton fan.
I'm a Chelsea fan.
Oh, leave now. Just
No.
bye-bye. Arsenal and Chelsea don't get along well.
Not very well.
We get along fine.
Everton and Arsenal are fine, but Everton despises Liverpool.
No,
Same
no.
city.
Very much.
Despises.
Too weak of a word. I realize
Despises
that.
to like
but
the 10th.
yes.
Yeah.
So that makes Ethan extremely happy. Yeah.
Come on, you toffees.
Okay. No, just moving on. Tennis. Maria Sharapova has announced her retirement from professional tennis after her long and somewhat storied and one could even say infamous career after the whole doping thing.
Well, that's
But-
basically. Is she from
She
Russia?
yes, she is Russian. So
That makes
welcome
sense.
to Russian sports. But that's pretty much all there is to tennis. Andy Murray has also suffered some sort of injury. I'm not sure as to what extent.
I can get that.
I mean, Andy Murray has, back when the Big Four was actually a thing. I mean, it was him, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, and Roger Federer, and they pretty much just ruled as the kings of the grass and clay courts.
Well, I looked it up. He has a chronic hip injury.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, and I mean that's kind of what's been plaguing Andy Murray for the past.
I've got
couple
some
of
breaking
years.
news.
Oh.
Liverpool's now out of the FA Cup.
Really? Who'd they lose to?
Yes!
They lost to Chelsea.
2-0.
Yes!
Congratulations, Charlie. You just blew out the eardrums of everyone listening. So yes, Liverpool. The downfall is coming.
Yes. Now they're probably gonna win the rest of their games.
Yeah, honestly, they're probably gonna get another title.
I hope Everton can beat them. We do play them soon
Yeah,
at Goodison Park.
you're not gonna win. I'm sorry.
Come on, you.
Back to tennis. Andy Murray, as I was saying, has been a staple in the world of international tennis. So, I mean, that's kind of what's been the chronic hip injury is kind of what's been happening the past couple of years. So he's had a long and storied career, but hoping that he recovers from that injury quickly. And that's about all the time that we have. We've covered most of what we wanted to cover.
Yeah, not much tune going on. Not as much as usual going on this
right,
week. So.
kind of a lighter week.
But obviously, with March Madness coming up, we're gonna give you all the details.
That will be an
on that.
exciting week once the bracket comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Make bracket predictions, upsets, all.
It's going to be a party. Anyway,
Especially
so
with JR back.
if you liked this video, please like it in YouTube. Feel free to follow and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow our Instagram page.
We haven't
it
been
is-
active right now, but as soon as JR runs it, so basically as soon as he
Right.
starts to feel better.
And that that account is, by the way, at ffm.sports.network, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that. Anyway, for Double FM Sports, I am Todd File.
I'm Ethan Fager.
And I'm Charlie.
And signing off for JR, have an awesome week.